I'm writing this under an appreciable mental strain, since by tonight I shall be no more. Penniless, and at the end of my supply of the drug, which alone makes life endurable, I can bear the torture no longer. I shall cast myself from this window into the street below. When you have read these scrawled pages, you may guess, though never fully realize, why it is that I must have forgetfulness or death. It was in one of the most open parts of the broad Pacific that the packet of which I was supercargo fell a victim to a German sea raider. Half conscious, I managed to escape alone in a small boat. For uncounted days, I drifted aimlessly beneath the scorching sun, waiting either for some passing ship or to be cast on the shores of some land. But neither ship nor land appeared, and I began to despair in my solitude upon the heaving vastness of unbroken blue. The change happened while I slept. When at last I awakened, it was to discover myself half sucked into a slimy expanse of mire, and in which my boat lay grounded some distance away. Though one might imagine that my first sensation would be of wonder, I was in reality more horrified than astonished, for there was in the air and in the rotting soil a sinister quality which chilled me to the very core. The region was putrid with the carcasses of decaying fish, and of other, less describable things. I could not detect the faintest noise of the surging ocean, and the very completeness of the stillness oppressed me with a nauseating fear. I realized that only one theory could explain my position. Through some volcanic upheaval, a portion of the ocean floor must have been thrown to the surface, exposing regions which, for millions of years, had lain hidden under unfathomable watery depths. That night I slept but little, and in the morning I set off in search of possible rescue. All day I forged steadily westward, guided by a faraway hummock which rose higher than any other elevation on the rolling desert. The sun blazed down from a sky which seemed to me almost black in its cloudless cruelty, as though reflecting the inky marsh beneath my feet. By the evening, I attained the base of the mound, which turned out to be much higher than it had appeared from a distance. Too weary to ascend, I slept in the shadow of the hill. I know not why my dreams were so wild that night. I was awake in a cold perspiration, determined to sleep no more. Urged on by an impulse which I cannot describe, I started for the crest of the eminence. When at last I crawled over the top, I felt myself on the edge of the world, peering over the rim into a fathomless chaos of eternal night. As the moon climbed higher, it shone weirdly above the towering steeps that hemmed in the chasm. All at once, my attention was captured by a vast object on the opposite slope. Despite its position in an abyss which had yawned at the bottom of the sea since the world was young, I was conscious that its contour and position were not altogether the work of nature. As the moon shone on the obelisk, I could trace both inscriptions and crude sculptures. I think that these things were meant to depict men, at least a certain sort of men. Of their faces and forms I dare not speak in detail, for the remembrance makes me grow faint. For some time I stood musing, whilst the moon cast strange reflections on the silent channel before me. And suddenly I saw it. With only a slight churning to mark its rise to the surface, the thing slid into view above the dark waters. Vast and loathsome, it darted like a monster of nightmares to the monolith. It bowed its hideous head and gave vent to a certain measured sound. When I came out of the shadows, I was in a hospital, brought thither by the captain of the ship which had picked up my boat in mid-ocean. In my delirium, I had said much. Of any land upheaval in the Pacific, my rescuers knew nothing. Nor did I deem it necessary to insist upon a thing which I knew they could not believe. I once sought out an esteemed ethnologist, and questioned him regarding the ancient legend of Dagon the fish god. But perceiving that he was conventional, I did not press my inquiries. It is at night, especially when the moon is gibbous, that I see the thing. Often I ask myself if it could not have all been a mere freak of fever, as I lay sun-stricken and raving in the open boat. This I ask myself, but ever does there come before me a hideous vision in reply. I cannot think of the sea without shuddering at the nameless things crawling on its slimy bed, worshipping their ancient stone idols and carving their likenesses on obelisks. I dream of a day when they may rise to drag down in their reeking talons puny humankind, of a day when the land shall sink and the dark ocean floor shall ascend amidst pandemonium. The end is near. I hear a noise at the door. It shall not find me. The window! The window!